Imagine this. You are standing at the edge of a forest just before dawn. Behind you, the world you know, the neat streets, the noise, the calendars filled with obligations, fades into mist. Before you, the forest waits, ancient and alive, whispering in a language you have forgotten but somehow still understand. You take one step forward, and the branches seem to lean closer, as if they recognize you. A pulse quickens in your chest, not fear, but something stranger. A memory of something you never consciously lived. Now, imagine waking up. It was just a dream, you tell yourself. Just a strange flicker of the mind at rest, nothing to be taken seriously. You wipe it away like condensation on a mirror. You have things to do. Deadlines. Responsibilities. Real life. But as you move through your day, a restlessness gnaws at you. A strange sadness you can't explain. A feeling that somewhere you missed a message meant only for you. Carl Jung once said that dreams are not random hallucinations, not the meaningless noise of a tired brain, but secret letters from the soul, coded messages from the parts of yourself you have ignored, buried, or betrayed. But here's the paradox. You are the author of these messages, and yet they come from somewhere beyond your conscious reach. You are the prisoner, and you are the jailer. You are asleep, and yet a deeper part of you is wide awake, speaking in riddles you have forgotten how to read. If your dreams are the voice of the soul, what happens when you refuse to listen? What happens to a message undelivered? A truth unspoken? A destiny unanswered? How many times have you brushed away the key to your own freedom, mistaking it for nonsense? How many truths have you lost because you trusted the waking world more than your own depths? The forest is still there. The dream is still waiting. And if you dare to listen, you may find that the life you have been living is only the faintest shadow of the life that was meant for you. But why have we been taught to silence this voice? Why does the world fear what the soul has to say? The deeper tragedy is this. We live in a civilization that treats dreams like dust, fleeting, meaningless, easily forgotten. The more we worship at the altar of logic, the more we exile the mysterious, the intuitive, the irrational parts of ourselves. In a world obsessed with utility and certainty, the soul's wild language becomes dangerous, even shameful. Carl Jung knew this exile well. He watched as modernity dismantled the bridges between conscious life and the unconscious, replacing myths with machines, meaning with mechanisms. Where once dreams were revered as divine messages, now they are filed away in textbooks as psychological static, quirks of REM sleep, nothing more. But Jung refused to abandon the forest. He saw that within dreams lay the archetypes, the timeless images and symbols that rise from the collective unconscious, older than any single life, deeper than any individual mind. Dreams are not chaotic accidents, Jung insisted. They are intentional acts of psychic compensation, correction sent from the unconscious to balance the arrogance and blindness of waking life. Think about it. When your conscious life drifts too far from your true nature, the dream erupts, whispering, or sometimes shouting, the truths you refuse to see. When you betray your instincts, when you deny your fears, when you silence your longing for meaning, the dream rises like a rebellion from within. And yet, the world around you trains you to ignore it. Schools teach you facts but not self-knowledge. Society rewards predictability, not authenticity. Technology bombards you with stimulation, drowning out the still, small voice of the inner world. In such a culture, to take your dreams seriously is to rebel, to choose uncertainty over certainty, mystery over machinery, soul over system. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once observed that humans are like prisoners chained inside a dark cave, mistaking shadows for reality. Carl Jung went further. Not only are we chained, we have been taught to love our chains. We have been taught to fear the one voice that could lead us out. Why? Because dreams threaten the order we have built. They remind us that we are not in control. They reveal that the world of appearances is thin, fragile, and haunted by deeper truths. So we suppress them. We laugh them off. We move faster, work harder, distract ourselves more furiously, anything to avoid hearing what the soul is trying to say. But repression comes at a price. What happens to a society that forgets how to dream? What happens to a soul that stops answering its own voice? The consequences are not only personal. They are woven into the fabric of the world you walk through every day. And if you look closely, you can already see the cracks forming. You don't notice the decay at first. It starts subtly, in the hollow feeling after an achievement, in the strange emptiness that creeps into quiet moments. You laugh at the right jokes, smile at the right faces, accomplish the right goals. And yet, something gnaws at you from underneath, like a song you can almost hear but never quite catch. You think it's just stress, or boredom, or bad luck. You think it's normal. But the truth is far more unsettling. When you silence your dreams, you do not silence your soul, you only blindfold yourself to its movements. The unconscious does not vanish. It grows restless, it festers, it becomes a shadow. Carl Jung called this the shadow self, the sum of everything you refuse to acknowledge about who you are. Every unspoken fear, every unmet longing, every abandoned gift. And the more you deny it, the more power it gains over you. Modern life is flooded with the symptoms of this hidden war. Anxiety disorders at epidemic levels. A numbing addiction to screens, substances, and noise. A spiritual hunger so profound that it disguises itself as endless consumerism, buying, scrolling, chasing, but never arriving. We are surrounded by distractions because we are terrified of what silence might reveal. Neurologically, the brain itself participates in this self-deception. Cognitive dissonance makes you cling to comforting lies. Confirmation bias blinds you to inconvenient truths. The reticular activating system, the brain's internal filter, shows you only what you already expect to see. In other words, your mind conspires with your fear to protect the fragile house of cards you call your reality. And society rewards you for it. The more predictably you function, the more you are praised. The more loudly you silence your own depths, the more successful you appear. You learn to perform normalcy while a secret civil war rages inside you. But the unconscious is patient. If ignored long enough, it stops sending dreams and starts sending symptoms, depression, rage, meaninglessness. It is the soul's last desperate attempt to be heard. And if even that fails, the energy turns outward, shaping a culture of disconnection, cynicism, and despair. Look around. Why are so many people haunted by a sense that something is missing, even when they seem to have it all? Why does progress bring power but not peace? Why does information multiply but wisdom vanish? It is because we have built a civilization that exiles the soul. We have traded depth for speed, mystery for mastery, wonder for convenience. And now, the consequences are everywhere, in our minds, in our relationships, in the very air we breathe. The dream was never just about you. It was about all of us. But there is a way back. There is a rebellion already stirring, quiet but fierce. And it begins by daring to listen to the voice you have been taught to ignore. It does not begin with grand gestures. It does not begin with loud revolutions or blazing headlines. The rebellion begins in the smallest, quietest moment, when you decide to listen. You wake from a dream, perhaps strange, disjointed, absurd, and instead of dismissing it, you ask, "What are you trying to tell me?" You sit with the images, the broken clock, the open door, the weeping child, not with the clinical detachment of a scientist dissecting a specimen, but with the trembling reverence of someone holding a sacred relic. This is how the rebellion against unconsciousness starts. It begins by honoring the language of the soul, dreams, intuitions, strange synchronicities, as real, as vital, as necessary. Carl Jung called it individuation, the slow, painful process of becoming who you truly are, instead of who the world expects you to be. And individuation demands a radical shift, trusting the irrational, the symbolic, the hidden currents inside you, even when they terrify you. Especially when they terrify you. The dream is not merely entertainment, it is a mirror. It shows you the parts of yourself you have forgotten, the wildness, the tenderness, the rage, the awe. It invites you to make them conscious again. It demands that you descend into the forest you abandoned long ago and retrieve the parts of your soul you left behind. It is not easy. The rational mind will mock you. The world will offer you faster, shinier ways to forget. You will be tempted to go back to sleep, to shrug off the visions and follow the well-lit path. But if you stay, if you dare to listen, you begin to see signs where others see accidents, meaning where others see randomness, destiny where others see coincidence. You begin to speak the language of the soul again, and with it, you rewrite your life. History is filled with those who dared. Friedrich Nietzsche, who descended into his own madness to articulate the will to power. Soren Kierkegaard, who wrestled with the paradox of faith and despair. Viktor Frankl, who, even in a concentration camp, found that meaning could survive when everything else had been stripped away. They did not find their truths in books alone. They found them in the darkness, the dreamscape, the deep inner worlds no map can chart. You are not different. You were not born to be a passive consumer of someone else's dream. You were born to awaken, to wrestle with your own depths, to carve meaning out of the raw stone of your existence. And when you do, something miraculous happens. The world itself begins to change. Not because the world has shifted, but because you have. The lens has cleared. The walls have cracked. You see not just with your eyes, but with your soul. The rebellion is within reach. The only question is, will you answer the call? Because there is one more secret still waiting to be uncovered. Here is the secret the waking world never taught you. The dream is not just a message. It is a mirror. It is a map. It is you, the you that existed before the world taught you how to forget. Every dream you have ever had, no matter how fragmented, how strange, how terrifying, has been the soul's attempt to remind you, you are more than what you have become. Carl Jung understood that dreams are not external prophecies or simple puzzles to be solved. They are living reflections of the great journey, the slow, painful, luminous return to the self. The self, not the ego you protect, not the roles you perform, but the primal, undivided truth of who you are. And here lies the ultimate paradox. The self is not something you create. It is something you remember. You do not build it. You uncover it, like an ancient city buried beneath centuries of dust and denial. Your dreams are the archaeologists of your forgotten kingdom. Each night, they bring you fragments, a crumbling tower, a broken crown, a river that remembers your name. Piece by piece, they invite you to rebuild the lost cathedral of your being. But the final, most powerful realization is this. The soul does not speak in the language of efficiency or success. It speaks in images, in symbols, in paradox. It speaks not to get you somewhere faster, but to return you to the place you have always belonged. The dreams you ignore do not disappear. They wait. Patient as stars behind clouds. Silent as seeds beneath frozen ground. They wait for the moment you grow tired of exile, tired of performing, tired of pretending, and finally turn inward. When that moment comes, the forest no longer feels frightening. The darkness becomes a sanctuary, not a prison. The dream becomes a doorway. And through that doorway, you will find not a new life, but the life you were meant to live all along. A life where intuition is not weakness but compass. Where mystery is not a threat but a promise. Where the soul is not an intruder but the sovereign ruler of your fate. You were never lost. You were only asleep. The dream has been calling your name all along. So ask yourself, if tonight your soul sends you another letter sealed in the language of dreams, will you tear it open and read it? Or will you, once again, turn away? The forest is waiting. The map is already in your hands. And somewhere, just beyond the edge of waking, the life you were meant to live is still waiting for you to remember. If this journey stirred something silent within you, if you felt the whisper of a truth too long forgotten, then stay with us. At Intuitra, we awaken the voices the world teaches you to ignore. Subscribe to step deeper into your own forgotten realms. Like this video if your soul is ready to remember. Your dreams are waiting. And so are we.